Right. I'm. I would consider myself sort of a. I like knowledge. I like learning about things. To me, it's important, I think, that we get into it and learn a lot about everything. I want to know the history behind things. So I'm gonna sort of create this YouTube channel to explore various things I find interesting, showcase it to the world, and see what other people think. You may like it, you may not. That's fine. It's for us people who do. So this first video, I want to talk about one of the simplest garments, one of the garments I think most people should own in their lifetime. And I'm sure you know friends who own this, family who own this, and I'm talking about jeans. Simple garment, I reckon. Quite easy to wear. Basically chuck on a white t-shirt that fits you well and a pair of blue denim. You've got a pretty solid fit. And they're everywhere. They've been everywhere. But why is it considered still to this day the upper echelon of most fashion? You see it on runways, you see it on construction sites, you see it everywhere. Like, people love jeans. And even though fashion, as people say, is cyclical, and that's great, like things come and go, I feel like jeans don't really. Like, shapes in jeans, yeah, sure, skinny, baggy, slim fit, straight fit, tapered, all of that sort of ebbs and flows. But jeans, denim itself is just everywhere. And it's to this day still iconic from where it started. So how did it start? Let's get into it. Now, before we talk about jeans as a trouser himself, let's talk about the material. It's nothing special, really. It's called denim. Started in a place called Nimes in France. Considered a pretty sturdy cloth. They called it a serge de denim. Then it sort of shortened the name to denim over there. So just from Nimes. That's how it became. But like, the French people needed something where they wouldn't get holes in the clothes. That's why they created denim. And denim, really, if you look at it, the reason why it is called denim is so the construction of the actual fabric. You see like little diagonal lines there? It's almost like cross-hatching weave. It sort of goes in and out of each other like that, but in a diagonal way. That's denim. Sturdy cotton. Cotton's everywhere. Most t-shirts that you would wear out of cotton. Most clothes you wear are out of cotton. Granted, it's a lot of blends and things. But it's cheap. And it's good. It's sturdy. You can wear your jeans to the ground. And they shouldn't fall apart. Especially when people were working in like gardening or factories. That's what they needed. They really needed strong, hard-working clothes. That's what this was. But that's the fabric, right? And how does it actually get this, like, blue, right? Because cotton's white. Most people know it's white. It should be white. So the way that started was indigo. Now, indigo is blue from a flower. It's really hardy dye. It's actually hydrophobic. Yeah. So in order to dye clothes, you generally have to put it into water, right? That's how it works. And then everything gets that coloring. But not with indigo. Indigo is pretty difficult to get right. you sort of need to, I wouldn't, like the flower itself is just, it comes from a place in India, it's indigo, and it generally refers to the actual color of the dye itself. It's quite old, it's been around forever, it's a natural dye from a flower. And the way it works is they will have giant buckets of it, yeah? And then they'll dip it in, but it's not soluble in water. Like I said, it's hydrophobic, so it's kind of hard. It needs to go through a chemical change called reduction. Reduction changes white indigo, and then once it's submerged in a dye bath, once it comes into contact with oxygen, it becomes blue. That's how you get blue denim. That's how you get blue jeans. That's what makes it blue. And that's what people wanted. Now, it's not the easiest thing to work with. If you've ever held indigo, it stains your hands. You'll notice you get blue. It's not used so much anymore. A lot of synthetic dyes are created these days, and that's how people get this. But back in the day, unless you are, very avid of salvage denim, which I'll get to in another video, I reckon. I think it's a whole other thing, and then that's how it'll get to there. Now let's go back to the history of it. Right? In California, America, gold was becoming a thing. Mine workers were going in and out, grabbing gold. They needed to get this gold. Gold rush, California. Super, super big thing happening then. But their clothes, especially in this time, just breaking. They just couldn't work in it. Like they would go in, pockets were ripping, they couldn't keep things in their pockets, seams were tearing up the place, just their tools that they were wearing were punching holes, and it wasn't easy. Like they needed durable clothing, and it was difficult to get. This is when a man named Jacob Davis steps in, around 1872, comes in with this idea, this revolutionary thing. Comes in and decides, you know what jeans need, or denim needs? So rivets. Right, before we get to jeans, he thought about getting into rivets. Rivets are your metal things at the moment that most people would have that would reinforce pockets and all the stress areas of these trousers so they wouldn't rip as easily. The only thing is, he was only a tailor. Granted, a pretty good tailor, but he was only a tailor. He needed to get it out into the open. So he wrote a letter to another business partner called Levi Strauss. His name you may recognize. Levi's jeans are everywhere. They're the epitome of jeans. They are the 501 is what people are aiming for whenever they create jeans, and that's jeans. And they came together and they created the blueprint of denim and jeans. Straight leg, single back patch. That's what you get on a pair like that, back patch. And copper rivets, copper. Heavy denim, man. Those things were engineered to be tough. And that's where they belonged, on miners. ages before they even got into the people of like things like that. And you'd see farmers, cowboys wearing them, railroad workers. They're just wearing denim. It wasn't a fashion item. It was another tool in your toolkit. You have your hammer, pickaxe, and your pair of jeans. That's what you're after. Alright, so then what happened? How did it become a fashion icon? Right, so started seeing people like Marlon Brando, James Dean, started wearing jeans, and people were like, what are they wearing? Why is it so cool? And then it became a rebellion status to wear jeans. People were wearing work trousers. Jeans weren't a thing. And then that's when people were like, no, we need jeans. And counterculture started representing denim, started representing this material, and people loved it. And then after that, it just flew. 1970s, 80s, you could see it everywhere. Every border, every subculture, hippies were wearing them, punks. European designers were wanting to work with this and create different types of acid washes and distressing, and it just became the best thing ever. And then you started getting people creating 505s and 501s. This here is actually 505 orange tab. Another topic I'll get into, and why these tabs of Levi's and what they all are. It means it's from about the 80s, 90s. It's a straight cut jean, a little bit high-waisted, and it still fits immaculately. Yeah, and you'll see it. I don't think there's a piece of clothing that matches jeans the way other clothing has been out there. Jeans are just great, but it's a story. There's history in this piece of clothing that you would wear to this day, and some people just don't realize. But I'll get into that. There'll be more deep dives into other things too, but jeans is a good starting point, I think. So until the next one.